Hey everybody, it's Tiffany here to talk to you today about a little hack I've been doing and working on myself. I wanted to wait until the end of my time frame that I'm doing this thing to monitor what's going on inside my body according to what I'm eating. But I just have had a little discovery that it's really, really telling. I've seen it now in black and white. It matches up with the things that I have known and that I teach about all the time with my one-on-ones and in my groups. And it's just really cool to see it happen in real time. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is wearing a continuous glucose monitor. Now, I know not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody feels like they probably need to do that. I wanted to do it because one, I'm kind of nerdy. I like data like that. I really like to get into the information and see things happen and see if it actually correlates what it says in the studies and in the textbooks and all the things. And number two, I just like to see what I can do to improve my health. And sometimes even as a healthcare practitioner, you get into sort of a lull of that, things about things about everything else with regard to health conditions. And sometimes I think you can't see the forest for the trees when it's your own situation. And so I wanted to look a little bit deeper, get a little more guidance on my blood sugar. So that is the thing that I'm wearing. So the one that I chose, it's continuous glucose monitoring. So it's this little thing that you attach to the back of your arm, and it reads your blood sugar, your glucose, all the time. So the one that I chose to use is called Nutrisense. You probably have heard of it, but with it comes an app where you regularly scan, and not on a regular schedule so much, but you just regularly scan this little adapter that's on the back of my arm. I kind of see that there in my sweatshirt. You just scan it with your phone, and then it gives all the readings of your blood glucose. And you can go further and you can get a keto. It's called Keto Mojo. You can sync it to that and you can look at ketones and that kind of thing. I haven't done that. I might do that. I never know what I might want to dig into deeper, but I wanted to see if all the things that I talk about with people on a regular basis, how that actually looks for me. I think I knew what it looked for me or what it would look like for me. And that has come to be mostly true, which is good in the case of my situation. But it just reinforces what I'm telling people, and it reinforces that you should listen to me when it comes to dealing with your blood sugar and with your stress. So that's the thing I wanted to talk about specifically today. I won't go into all the details of this whole 3-month process that I'm going through. And I may or may not continue it after the 3 months. I have not decided yet, but I just wanted to touch base on something that I saw firsthand happening and that I've been talking about with all the people I work with. So we talk about stress a lot, and I think that just gets so watered down to the point where people don't even really think that they're stressed. And I see that all the time. They'll say, oh no, I'm fine. Everything's good. My marriage is good. My finances are good. And all these things that just on the surface, they're like, this is not a big deal. I don't have anything to worry about. I have everything I need. I shouldn't be stressed. I have no stress in my life. And then we dig through in the intake forms, we dig a little bit deeper, and we're seeing that that's not the case. So after they start telling me their stories, the things that they're dealing with, maybe they're taking care of an elderly family member, maybe they have a child who has some kind of disability that they're dealing with, but it's become so normal to them that they don't realize that the stress that causes stress on them. So in my little world, in an acute situation, all right, so it is common knowledge, again, in the textbooks, and something I've learned about and seen with people regularly. It's common knowledge that at night, when you're trying to sleep, your blood glucoses will go up a little bit to help you make it through the evening and through the nighttime sleeping. So that's kind of normal for that to happen. But what I noticed recently is that the stress that I've been under, which is a situational stress. And in this case, it is my daughter leaving for 4 months to go to Spain. So that's stressful to me. Even though I'm excited for her, I'm happy for her. I love adventure myself. I love to travel. I'm so excited for all the opportunities she's going to have. There's so many positive and amazing things surrounding it. But the bottom line is that my child is leaving to another country for 4 months. And that is stressful to me. And I know I've talked about before that when you have a thyroid condition, stress absolutely impacts the function of the thyroid. So with that, I have not been feeling very well. And I didn't really connect the dots because, again, when you're in your own head and you're in your own day-to-day and busy with your normal life, sometimes these things that creep in, whether it's a chronic thing or an acute thing, don't really seem to show up, or you can't identify them. And so with this little glucose monitoring thing I've been doing, it really has shown me how different stresses impact my body, even outside of what I'm eating. That's, like I said, that's a whole other thing. I will talk about that experience later, because that's super important for improving your health symptoms, whatever they may be, whether it's a thyroid condition, whether it is that you have prediabetes or something like that. That's obvious. It'll help that. But it's crazy the connections that it makes just in this acute situation with my stress. All right. So symptoms that I've noticed, I've been not sleeping as well. I've been wanting to lean towards more sugary or carby type foods that I normally eat. And the anticipation of this person in my life that I have raised for the last 20 years, getting ready to go to this amazing adventure and all the things that come with that. It's been kind of a busy time frame and getting her ready and prepared, even though she's done the majority of it, the hard work, the paperwork, the visas and all that kind of thing. But the stress that I realized that I've been under is reflected in this blood sugar thing. So I have had, to date, I have had very good blood sugar response to whatever types of foods I'm eating. So again, I'll cover that in a different episode, but what happens when you eat is your blood sugar pops up. And then as your body takes it into the cells, then your blood sugar should go back down. Well, that's been a lot slower for me this past week or two. And it drives me crazy because my numbers don't look like they have been looking, and how they have in my whole entire history of tracking blood sugar over time, just going to the doctors and that kind of thing. And so I'm wondering what is going on. And then the anxious person in me starts thinking, oh my gosh, now I'm going to start to be pre-diabetic. And now I'm going to have to worry about that and deal with that on top of the thyroid issues and doctoring for that and getting images and all that. So it just kind of starts this vicious cycle. It starts down that anxiety path. And then it gets me even more anxious, which does nothing. That stress that you inflict on yourself does nothing for your blood sugar. It does nothing good. So it's just like one thing begets another thing in the negative when it comes to this. So what I've seen is that my nighttime, so like after dinner time, blood sugars have been way higher. And then when I'm sleeping or supposed to be sleeping, my blood sugars are way higher the whole entire night. And that alone keeps you a little more alert. You can talk to anybody who's had a child that has type 1 diabetes and they're trying to get their blood sugars in check at night because it keeps them up. And as we know, that when you're not sleeping and you're not getting that good restorative or restful sleep, like I talk about as well all the time, then you are just not set up to go through the next day and be very healthy. And over time, this causes problems in your whole entire system. So that is one thing I know, that there was a marked difference. It was like a 15-point difference of my PM and nighttime blood sugars. And then the morning blood sugar, when it was fasting, it was a 15-point difference on average for a couple, I wouldn't say a couple weeks, but maybe a week, maybe 6 days, something like that, where it was a marked difference in that blood sugar response. Now, what I say to this is, okay, I thought I was managing everything just fine with dealing with this anticipation of my child leaving, the country for 4 months. Okay. So I thought I was handling it fine, but biochemically, not so much. So that is why it is so important for you to have some kind of daily practice that keeps you kind of calm and keeps you down, or to make sure, when I say keep you down, I mean keeping your state of being on a level playing field, and so that you're calmer. All right. So that's not to say we are not going to ever be bombarded with major stresses in our lives. I mean, I've been through way more stressful things than this particular recent incident with my, or life occurrence, life experience. I've been through way more stressful things in my life than this. And this is already gotten better for me, but I'm just trying to say that when you are having things like that pop up that are normal in life, on top of poor food quality, poor sleep quality, traffic, financial issues, if you have all these things constantly coming at you, your blood sugar is going to be impacted, your ability to manage stress is impacted, and then just one affects the other. So there's no reason in the world that we would not be impacted as a society with overweight and obese. That's a huge epidemic that's happening. Thyroid problems are on the rise, and among other things, a lot of chronic conditions are on the rise. And I believe that a lot of it starts right here with dealing with just something so basic. All right. You don't have to wear a glucose monitor for 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is that I decide to do to find this out. What you need to do is start eating whole foods, get rid of the processed foods as much as possible, and eat regular times. Okay, so that's sort of the basic thing to do without getting into the minutia of specific nutrients and eating this way or that way, gluten-free, vegan, carnivore, whatever. You don't need to get into any of that. That's just causing more stress on people right now, actually. But what I'm saying is that for someone who's had regulated blood sugar for the most part, except for some issues when I was dealing with the kind of the thick of my diagnosis with thyroid cancer and dealing with that afterwards, I've always had pretty stable, regulated blood sugar. I respond to different things pretty well. But what I noticed was a marked difference. But then if you stop and look at what's going on in your life and how you're acting otherwise and how you're feeling otherwise, it makes a difference. So you need to start being really aware of your body, connecting the dots to what you're doing in your life, what you're eating on your day-to-day, and how you're feeling day-to-day. That makes a huge difference. And of you moving forward and moving out of maybe the cycle that you're in. And every cycle might be a little bit different. But if we don't pay attention to these things, you don't ever really know how to move forward from them. And again, you don't necessarily have to use a continuous glucose monitor to do that. I'm just saying it's a tool for me. I get kind of nerdy and geek out about a lot of that kind of stuff. And the other thing that it ties to, I know I've talked to you about this, but my Oura Ring to track my sleep, I can't tell you how this correlates. When I have poor sleep, I also have poor, or I should say higher nighttime blood sugars. It's just totally correlated, and all of that impacts your body's ability to handle stress. So whole foods, getting into the practice of some kind of mindfulness or calming throughout the day, whether it be some actual quiet time where you just sit for 5-10 minutes, don't have the TV on, don't have the news on, don't be looking at your phone, just quiet, plain old, just sit there in silence type of time. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk after lunch or after dinner. That also helps push your blood sugar back down to normal. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's prayer, maybe it's meditation, whatever you can do regularly to stave off this stress that can come into our life and we don't even realize it, or that's constantly in our life and we don't realize that either. You need to have some kind of way to moderate that and calm your system down. So it's super, super important. And like I said, it just was really telling because I thought I was handling all this really well. I mean, yes, it was a little hard at the airport. I had a little mini breakdown there because it's just kind of sad to think of your little person that you've had in your world for 20 years to go off for 4 months. I mean, she's coming back. It's 4 months. The time will go fast. I realize that logically, but in the moment that was a little emotional. But again, so excited for her. So I did not think that physiologically this is affecting me. So that stress and that trauma lives in your body. I've done episodes on that before where what you felt in your life and the trauma you've been through lives in your body. So whether it's actual trauma that we think of as something really horrific that's happened, or if it's something like this experience that I'm just describing here, that lives in your body and can impact how you feel. So I just wanted to convey that to everybody and to, for you not to, it's a fine balance between living in the negativity of a negative or stressful experience. You don't want to be there either, but also you need to be able to recognize when something can affect you and is affecting you, and then do something with it. Make sure that you recognize it, kind of let it go that, okay, that's what was happening here. What can I do to mitigate that response next time? Or what can I do to get out of it now? So that's what you need to do to look forward. Like I said, don't live in that space of this happened to me and this is why I feel terrible. And that was the worst thing ever. I can't believe it happened. And if you just keep living in that is not a good place to be either. So, and I think I did that, a lot dealing with my thyroid cancer because I was not getting support on my own. So I had to do it myself. That's a whole other thing. But I just really think this is important information for people to have so that they can move forward out of their stressful state of being, and it can make them healthier down the road. So everything is connected. One thing affects the other. Don't disregard that, but learn about it and move forward. And if you need help learning about that, reach out to me. I have a free call. There's no catch to it whatsoever. Get on the call. We could talk about what best suits you, what, if it's a good fit to work with me. So the call is basically for both of us. It's not just for you. It's for me to see what I could best help you with. How can I best serve you? And if it fits, great. If not, no worries. You still come away with an action plan to take for your situation and start where you're at. So the link is in the comments and the show notes. And, reach out anytime, schedule at your convenience, and I'll call you and we'll talk for about a half an hour and go through that. But again, think about what you're doing, think about your stress, and think about what you do to mitigate that stress throughout the day. So healthy things to mitigate that stress. All right. Have a great night, and I'll be back soon with more information. Bye.